Specific examples, MSNBC, Fox News, though may be different in their ideologies, both present news and facts to the people and bring issues to the table. And that's the very start of loyal opposition, is you have to know what's going on in your government. So the media fits perfectly into that concept.
Go ahead.
I would like to disagree just by saying that even though the media does bring these objects to the table, there's an old axiom that says news nowadays is man bites dog, meaning dog bites man always happens. But something new and sensationalist can make the news very easily. Now this, although it brings some issues to the table, they may be the wrong issues.
Going back to what my partner Cameron stated, was that media institutions such as Fox News or MSNBC or even Facebook and Twitter present issues to the general public who may not feel that these issues affect them. And although while sometimes the vehicles or the methods of delivering them is necessarily legitimate, the fact that they are presenting these items of discussion to the public represents a good check on the government.
But ultimately, the people are also, as they are the check on the government, they're the check on the news industry also. Obviously, Fox News and MSNBC wouldn't be providing us with these very sensationalist stories if we, the people, didn't want them.
In one of the things I found most interesting is you said that the rise of the two political parties has made loyal opposition more difficult. Do you think that political parties, we'll never know. Wait till see how you're elected to Congress and find out what you say then.
All right, your prepared remarks covered the question, and I like the fact that you did go into history a little bit and basically explored or mentioned the roots of loyal opposition. You had some, you're focusing on the Bai example is clearly something from that is close to your hearts. And I think you have explored how that would fit into the framework that you created in your opening remarks. With respect to your intent tests, I did want to explore that because intent is so difficult to identify, and it might vary from person to person, situation to situation. And I wish we had explored a little bit more if the failure of that, if that test is failed, then what do you have? Is it obstruction? Is it something else? Is it, when does it make things totally dysfunctional? So you had some discussion also on my question with respect to limited government. It sounds a little bit, I think I saw you thinking a little bit on it, and you started focusing in on the different terms that were used. Limited government, was that checks and balances, that was on target, and how the loyal opposition fits within that framework. There are some other constitutional issues in that with respect to the right to petition that are actually built into the Constitution and that type of thing. So I think you did a good job. And
okay. Well, thank you. You certainly represent the state of Indiana extremely well, and I wish we had more time to talk about this because you present a really interesting case here. Senator Bai is a member of the majority party within the Senate, and stepping out like this, it presents some kind of interesting possibilities of redefining loyal opposition that I think probably weren't anticipated by the author of the quote that was used as a stimulus for this. I'm not saying you're incorrect, but with the intent standard complicates things tremendously, which may mean that you're much more realistic because life is complicated on this. But I thought it was a very interesting approach to take, and it's raised all sorts of other questions for me too. If people aren't obeying a law, are they engaged in loyal opposition or not? Well, the answer could fall within the realm of the framework you've set up. So I think it has some potential. I would like to explore it a little bit more. You talked about DOT's opinion dikes, and we can't go too far outside what public opinion will allow. And yet, since the earliest public opinion polls in the 1940s, a majority of the population has favored some form of national health insurance, and yet we've never quite gotten around to doing that. So it's the environment in which those opinion dikes are established, it seems to me, are very important. The key point here is you wrestle with these difficult questions. I'm not convinced you found the answer yet, but then no one else has. But I'm very encouraged that you're wrestling with them, and I thought you gave a very good presentation. There were just many more things I would have liked to talk about, but excellent job today.
Yeah, this group had some fresh insights that I think were important to this question. First of all, to recognize that use of the courts could be part of loyal opposition. I mean, I don't think that's necessarily self-evident from the way the question is framed, but I think it's absolutely an appropriate part of the discussion. And it also brings in federalism, which is an interesting notion about whether it's loyal opposition. So I think you've done the right thing by going beyond just the notion of political parties and elected officials as being part of the loyal opposition, and looked at our federal system and the role the state governments play, looked at the fact that, you know, if you want to stay within the system, then lawsuits are part of the system. So I thought that was a very fresh and important insight, and I'm glad you brought it to the table. I also am glad to hear you talk about how political parties have made loyal opposition difficult, because the prize of winning the office, as I heard you say, has become more important than the job of achieving the common good. And I think that's what we all want our politicians to be doing, and I think Republicans and Democrats alike are frustrated with the current politicians, because I think we've all come to the conclusion that's what they think is more important, getting reelected rather than achieving the common good. So some really fresh insights, and I'm glad we had the opportunity to talk with you about them today, and I wish you luck as you not only go through this competition, but as you become citizens that help shape the answer to these questions in the future. And I feel inspired and optimistic about the future for America, knowing that you're going to be doing that for the country and for the great state of Indiana. So thanks and congratulations.